Welcome back to another video. My name is Callan and I'm currently reacting to every single A24 film in order. Today we're on movie number 35, De Palma. Now before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you please subscribe to this channel down below and follow along this journey with me. Also, if anyone is interested in signing up for the triple A24 membership, please consider using my referral code down below. Anyways, with that being said, let's get started with movie number 35. As always, starting off with the A24 logo, of course. Here we go, De Palma.
I saw Vertigo in 1958. I saw it at Radio City Music Hall. I will never forget it.
And before starting this, I made sure to binge as much of his movies as possible because previously I actually haven't seen a De Palma film in my life, which is crazy.
I went to Columbia to study physics and math and Russian. I was basically a science nerd. I mean, I wasn't really interested in movies.
It's crazy that's what he went into studying and ended up being a director here.
I'd seen a casting notice for a graduate project at Sarah Lawrence, and I said, oh, this looks like a good idea. My first feature came out of Sarah Lawrence.
The Wedding Party. I haven't seen this movie. I'll have to go check it out. I don't know if I can find it anywhere, though.
The Wedding Party was De Niro's first movie. Bobby came into a casting session, and Will and I were in a loft on Broadway.
Oh, definitely got to check it out. If it's Robert De Niro's first film, too?
I shot a lot of documentaries in that period in order to support myself while I was in graduate school. You see a lot of the sort of Hitchcockian things in Murder a la Mode. A lot of stylistic madness going on.
From the movies that I did watch, you definitely see a lot of influence from Alfred Hitchcock.
We became so frustrated, Chuck Hirsch and I, that we decided to make a movie ourselves. I mean, if you wanted to stay out of the war and you were a middle-class kid, you could figure out a way to do it. I took everything to make me allergic so I could hardly breathe. I was crazy, and I think with my letter from my doctor, that got me out.
I can't believe that's a true story.
Bobby emerged as the most captivating character. We said, we got to make him like the main character. That's what happened with Hi Mom, which is basically Son of Greetings.
There's really so many movies that I still need to watch. I've been watching just too many A24 films. I gotta venture out every once in a while. I definitely will once I finally start catching up, but there's still a long ways to go and a lot more A24 films I need to watch.
There was Marty and I, then there was George and Francis and Steven.
What a group of people, man.
Schrader was out there. Schrader was a critic.
Paul Schrader, we'll get to watch First Reformed eventually.
We were able to get into the studio system and use all that stuff in order to make some pretty incredible movies.
There really is an incredible group of people that created so many incredible movies.
You just look at it and you say, this isn't right. This is sloppy. I'm telling Orson Welles he's got to do this thing again. It's like, whoa.
How do you even do that? It's so intimidating.
In my career, I've had these devastating things happen where you basically have to start from scratch, and I was finished. So I went back to New York, and we started making Sisters.
Okay, Sisters is one I for sure watched recently. Yeah, this was quite an interesting movie.
Well, the split screen I got from Dionysus in '69.
I did notice that he uses split screens a lot in a bunch of his movies.
The idea is where it is appropriate. In Sisters, of course, it worked quite well.
I did love the sequence, trying to see them clean up the apartment while the others are trying to get to the apartment.
My editor, Paul Hirsch, played a lot of Benny's stuff from Psycho in a temp track. Where is Bernard Herrmann now? So we brought him to New York to look at the film. We stopped the projector. He says, I can't look at your movie and listen to that. But he was scary. He sees the movie and goes home and writes the score.
That's a pretty funny story.
We can't believe the price you paid.
This is a movie that I've been wanting to watch, but it wasn't on streaming or anything. I couldn't find it easily, so I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Unfortunately, we had not taken out E&O insurance. So we were hit with like 4 lawsuits immediately.
That's crazy, all these other companies.
I mean, I remember going to the theater and like there was nobody there.
That must suck, working so hard on a movie and then not getting the reaction that you're wanting or expecting.
And we were trying to get a kind of Hitchcockian leading man in this. And finally, we managed to get Cliff Robertson. He could see that John Vieira was taking the movie over. I mean, we got to a point where they could hardly work together.
That's crazy, all the egos that you must have to deal with in Hollywood.
I mean, I edited Dionysus, so I was constantly putting two images against each other. And I thought, well, how can I do this in a regular movie?
I don't even understand how people made movies back in the day. Like, even with all the technology that we have today, like, I couldn't do any of this stuff, I don't think. The fact that they were able to pull this off without all of the technology that we have now is pretty incredible.
Apart from Get to Know Your Rabbit, the first 10 features I made were independently financed. So I had to get back into the system. And I only managed to do it again with Carrie. We kept on coming in with a budget of $1.8 million, and they said, we're not making it $1.8 million.
It's crazy how much money it takes to create a movie. What do you even spend all that money on? Like, that's so much money.
George and I were casting Star Wars and Carrie at the same time. Sissy came to me and asked if she could try out, because I knew Sissy from Phantom because she was Jack Fisk's girlfriend and, you know, was painting sets. My father was an orthopedic surgeon, and I used to go to the hospital and watch him operate.
How was that even allowed to have a kid in an operating room watching all of that? I love the split screens.
In the wide shot, where you see the traffic in the street, and that we shot backwards.
What the heck? I didn't even notice. I'll have to rewatch that.
So they put it all out in a bunch of theaters on Halloween, expecting it to play for a week or so or whatever. And then it made a tremendous amount of money, and they started to take it more seriously. What's great about Carrie is they've made so many versions of it now, and they've made so many mistakes.
Just can't beat the original.
There's a 3-hour television version of Carrie, which is exactly like the book. Instead of crucifying Mrs. White, they give her a heart attack. That's dramatic. That's when I came up with the flying utensils.
Much more visually dramatic and exciting.
And the best one I could get was The Fury, which suddenly had a huge budget, which was like $5 million.
I haven't seen The Fury. I'll have to watch this one as well.
My life.
I had this idea that the way to teach film would be to actually make a low-budget feature.
Oh, that seems like such a good movie to watch.
There's a big controversy over Dress to Kill because of my fight with the ratings board. You know, and again, it's structured with, you know, Psycho bumping off the lead character in the first.
Yeah, this movie was very similar to Psycho.
Keith Gordon's character came from, you know, me and my science fair projects. I used to follow my father around when he was cheating on my mother.
I don't even understand how that's a real story. It's so hard to believe.
The first idea for Blowout, it was a very low-budget movie. And suddenly, John wanted to do it.
Blowout is a really good movie.
Well, a Steadicam was Vilmos's idea. Once the Steadicam came in, you could work out these long kind of shots where you would take your characters to environments.
It's pretty fun to see how exciting and revolutionary a Steadicam was back in the day. It's also unbelievable all of the improvements we're still getting with this Steadicam technology, you know, with GoPros and even your iPhone. You get some pretty incredible steady shots.
Putting the pictures together, syncing it with the sound is what we do in the editing room.
Again, I don't understand how they were able to make movies back in the day. Like, it's so easy with Final Cut to sync all these things up. When back then you had actual strips of film.
The thing about the 360 shot was I wanted to create the sense of a reel of tape turning.
This 360 shot is like the one in Krisha.
It moves me every time I see it, the way John plays the scene. It's a good scream, it's a good scream.
What a great way to end the movie.
Say hello to my little friend!
Here we go, Scarface. This was the first De Palma film that I watched. Al Pacino's so great.
Well, first we started in Florida and got run out by the Cubans. I thought we were making old Cubans gangsters. I was there for months, you know, scouting things.
That's interesting. That was actually like a consequence of filming.
Al grabbed his gun and grabbed it by the barrel, which was red hot, and seared his hand. So basically, I had 2 weeks to shoot everything but Al. What do you think about this, Steve? Should we put another camera up here? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 weeks. Might as well get every angle, every shot possible.
And they just
Look
really
at all of that
disliked
carpet.
it.
I remember watching this and it really bothering me.
Well, since I'm not a big fan of hip-hop, I knew nothing about it until people basically told me about it. Something that gets into the music culture, the hip-hop culture, and then into the game culture.
What an influence that movie has on pop culture.
The head of the public relations calls me up and says, they are going to kill you tomorrow. That's just too much. Well, it didn't occur to me to be too much. I thought it was perfect.
For the people that thought this was too much, imagine their reaction to seeing some of the films that have been released now in current times, because things have gotten so much crazier.
In directors' careers, We don't plan them out. I knew John Landau. He was managing Bruce Springsteen.
We're not making movies, create music videos for Bruce Springsteen.
About 24 hours later, somebody over at Paramount
The Untouchables. I think this is my favorite
The
De Palma film that I've seen.
And then we got Sean in because Sean was always looking for things to get him out of his James Bond.
Sean Connery is my favorite in this movie.
We need an American gangster actor.
Of course, Robert De Niro. I think that was my only complaint about this movie. I needed more Robert De Niro as Al Capone.
I had Battleship Potemkin in mind, the whole idea of a baby carriage going down a staircase in the midst of a shootout.
Wow, who knew the sequence was inspired by another movie?
Go on, get your out of here!
No. I was so upset about this scene. Like I said, he's my favorite.
Casualties of War was the best story about the Vietnam War. It was a great piece of journalism.
Another movie that I've been really wanting to watch but haven't gotten around to it.
Michael's a very amiable guy, and he felt very much like an outsider, you know, because Sean and his guys. But it worked very well for the movie. I think he whispered once to him, television actor.
Man, I wonder what their relationship is now, or what it was like after the movie. Like, was this all intentional for the movie, or does he actually act like that?
I find it hard to look at it myself. When you deal with material that's very heartbreaking, and you got to go to a mix and look at that stuff over and over again.
You don't even think about that, having to edit the movie and making it, and yeah, like you said, having to watch that movie over and over while trying to cut it down and edit it. I feel like if I ever created a movie, once I'm done with the movie, I'd just be so sick of looking at it and analyzing it while editing it that I would just never want to watch that movie ever again.
The problem of working in the Hollywood system is that people are paid a lot of money to get you to do what they want you to do.
I think the good thing about A24 being a film distribution company is that all of these directors and people making movies are able to do it their own way. And then A24 sees, you know, the greatness in the movie of the thing that they've created and is able to distribute it and allow us to enjoy it the way that these creatives intended it to be.
Interested in doing Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise? I said, are you kidding? Of course.
I had no idea that he directed the first Mission Impossible until I recently just watched it. Now I gotta watch all like 20 that they're on now.
And I came up with the idea of going into the CIA and the silent sequence.
This is by far the best scene in the entire movie. So stressful. And of course, the sweat scene.
Catching the sweat, all that stuff.
I do love this train scene because you just see how crazy this scene was, and then you look at the new Mission Impossible and see how much crazier all of these scenes are getting.
In relation to sort of the action sequences. And this is why they're so boring in so many of these big movies, is that they're pre-visualized.
I'm curious to know his opinion on the new Mission Impossible now.
I always wanted to do something in a casino. It's the whole insular life, and it's a corrupt world.
I give you the opportunity to pay for all the extra police work that you create.
We love Nicolas Cage. It's going to be a very long time, though, until we see Dream Scenario on this channel.
Mission to Mars was very expensive. It cost $100. That's another situation where they have a director on Mission to Mars and he came with a budget of $115 million.
Again, I can't even comprehend the amount of money. Like, how do you allocate all of this money accordingly? Like, why is it so expensive? I want to see a breakdown of where every single dollar is going.
The thing about making movies is every mistake you made is up there on the screen, everything you didn't solve, every shortcut you made, you will look at it the rest of your life. My True Wife is my movie, not you.
All right, there we have it, De Palma. And the A24 logo to close us out. All right, so that was movie number 35, De Palma. This is a pretty unique movie, and unlike any of the other A24 films that we've seen, this definitely was a difficult movie for me to react to, as I feel like I was just kind of listening and taking it all in. It was great being able to just, sit with him and listen to all of the stories that he had to tell and the reasoning behind all of his movies, everything that has happened in his life and how it affected the movies that he did end up creating. I definitely need to watch a lot more of his movies. I'm glad I was able to watch at least some before watching this movie. I think by watching every single one of his movies, I would have appreciated this movie even more. I did love seeing such a great group of creatives, you know, them showing Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Paul Schrader, and it got me thinking of the current directors that we have, especially pertaining to A24. You know, Ari Aster has 3 movies, Trey Edward Schultz also has 3 movies, Sofia Coppola has 3. You know, I really like that A24 continues to work with these directors and continues to distribute their films. I would love for them to create a movie essentially with all of these creatives and just have them talk about their movies similar to how De Palma was talking about all of his movies. Anyways, I'm looking at Letterboxd right now and this movie is sitting at 3.7 stars. This is kind of a tricky movie for me to rate and rank considering, like I said, it's so different from all the other movies that we've watched. I have to be honest, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Brian De Palma fan, but then again, I've only started watching his films in the past 2 weeks. I feel like if I grew up watching his films or was around the time when these films were actually released, this movie would connect with me a lot more. Which is why I think if A24 did something like this with their directors, I would totally enjoy it and probably just give it 5 stars because I would love to hear how all of these movies are being created and, you know, the story and the thought process of everything that goes on. But because I don't really have a connection with Brian De Palma or his films, this isn't a film where I thoroughly enjoyed and would, you know, watch it over and over again. This wasn't a bad film by any means, and I'm sure a lot of people, especially those that enjoy his movies, would definitely love. So I think for me personally, I'm gonna rate this movie 2.5 stars. Now in terms of ranking this movie, this is also tricky. I gave a few other movies 2.5 stars. I feel like we're comparing apples to oranges here because, like I said, it's so different from all the other movies on this list. But I think in the end, I'm gonna put this movie in the number 27th spot. So this is my current ranking of the first 35 A24 films. As always, let me know down in the comments what your thoughts were on this movie, what you rate it and what you rank it. And I'll see you next Thursday for the next video.